Yeah, I told you I'm finished this. I'm finishing this game of Battlefront 2. I'm finishing this game of Battlefront 2. Who's into that? GmbH. I can't. I'm listening to a Zoom meeting.
Ah, fuck yeah. Ah,
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining today's webinar. We'll just take another extra minute just to allow everyone a little bit of time to join. I will ask, though, that everyone that's already on, if they wouldn't mind turning themselves on mute, and we'll get started shortly. Thank you. Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining today's webinar with Tor. So my name's Conor Maher. I'll be the host today, and coming from you from Charlotte in North Carolina. So here it is 2 o'clock today. So we're 5 hours behind Irish time. And we'll go through now what we're going to talk about in today's presentation. So today, first of all, we're going to meet the guests. I have two of them sitting beside me. We're going to go through college sports in the United States. So we're going to talk specifically about golf, soccer, and rugby. We're going to talk a little bit about who we are at Tor and what we do. We'll make sure we'll leave some time at the end for questions and answers, and also next steps at the very end. So as for the questions and answers, there's going to be a chat that you can put your questions in throughout the webinar. And then at the end, we'll get to as many as we can. So just a reminder for anyone that just joined, if everyone could mute themselves, just so we don't have any background noise, that would be great. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so guest speakers today, we have Brian Murtagh here. Brian Murtagh is a professional golfer and he's a former student athlete. We have myself, Conor Maher. I'm a former soccer student athlete and now work as a college soccer recruiter. And then beside him to my right, we have Frank McKinney, who is a college rugby head coach at Queen's University. So to start us off today, we have Brian Murtagh from Galway.
Hello all, how are you all doing? Hope you're all doing well this evening. Yeah, so I'm just here to give a little bit of a background about myself, why I decided to come over to the US, and what kind of path I took and everything that went along with it. So I'm from the countryside in Ireland, a little place called Ardrahan. So probably, I don't know, maybe 500-600 people. And I played GAA, I played all these sports growing up and played basketball and all this. I went to Gore Community School in Gore County, Galway. I played my club golf in Gort, and also my home course was Portumna, out in the middle of Galway, basically. And to be very honest, I wasn't at the standard of a lot of, high level players at my age when I was growing up. I mean, I thought I was really good, but obviously other people have way better handicaps and stuff like that. And it's just kind of I really believed in myself, and that's kind of how I got on the road and got over here. My handicap was 2 when I first came over, and yeah, I worked hard at it, and I eventually got my rewards and upped my scholarship and all that kind of stuff while I was in the US compared to what I started on when I first came over. And I'll talk a little bit about that later on the slides. So yeah, so why did I choose to come over to the US? Well, I did a year in Galway in a course. I was playing a lot of hurling. I was 18, and I just didn't really feel like I was progressing as well as I wanted to. A lot of people around me weren't as professional, and you know the setting in Ireland. It's kind of like if you're the one that's kind of pushing the team and all that, it's just hard to find the professionalism around you. So I kind of looked to the US because I wanted to see, could I get a degree outside of what I was doing in Ireland and just have the professional setting that I wanted to grow myself in, maybe more gym work, more time dedicating myself to the sport and all that kind of stuff. So when I played golf in Ireland, I really loved it. Obviously, you come to the US, you've got unbelievable facilities over here, gym programs, always on the golf course, everything like that. So that really, and I'm sure that transcends across, well, I know it transcends across because, as you will find out if you do come to the US, you always become friends with people on different sports teams and stuff, and you're kind of all in the same boat with like-minded people. Combining the sports and education, I always said, I came over to go to play golf in college, but for a finish when I was getting my degree, I was kind of realizing, wow, this is absolutely unbelievable. I've got to play this sport as a professional level, and I've also got a degree with me going out the door from college. And obviously, the new experience is something that the experience of coming from a different country to play a sport really, really, I feel like puts you ahead of a lot of people, even back home or wherever. Obviously, this is for Ireland, but whatever country you're from, you really progress yourself a lot and kind of just come out of your shell, really. And it definitely gave me confidence, and it gave me a lot more ambition to do more things, and it kind of opened my eyes to what was out there and what you can do. And so that's really why I chose to come to America. So yeah, so just a little bit about what it does entail. So thankfully I was on a good team who we all pushed each other, and like I said, you have that professional setting, you have guys that are trying to beat you, you have guys that are trying to make you better because of all that. So our morning started with 6 a.m. workouts. Now that it says weights, but it could be anything. Sometimes you don't need all weights, sometimes you need recovery, sometimes you need different, maybe you need some cardio, and maybe you need some, whatever you really needed. You'd kind of sit down with your coaches and decide where you were going to go, and if you had injuries and all that. It's it's when you're healthy, it's all well and good. Off season, you're doing weights and stuff like that, but sometimes you're doing other things too. So we'd start off Monday mornings and Wednesday mornings with a 6 a.m. weight session, and then you'd have your breakfast afterwards, go back to your dorm room, shower, take your breakfast, and then I always like to have my classes at 8 a.m. to start. Other people, you don't have to go to class at 8 a.m., but it just kind of gave me the start I needed. And especially I found coming from a different country, it really just kept me honest and kept me always, motivated and things. So our daily schedule was class until 8:30. We'd have class 9:30 till 12. And something that it doesn't have on this slide, coming from an international setting, I was able to get a job on campus where I got paid X amount. It let me, have some money when just to have a downtime on the weekends and stuff, or even if I want to buy, food out or anything like that. It just gave me that flexibility. So usually I'd complete that before lunch at 12, and then you'd have lunch at 12, you'd go back to your classes till 3 o'clock, and then it was mandatory to be out on the golf course for me from 3 until you wanted to stop playing, honestly. And we'd go back onto campus again, back into our dining hall for dinner, and that was kind of the daily run of things. And it just kind of, you know, it gave you a good routine all the time. It just kept you going, and it kind of, you know, kept yourself in the sport that you wanted to be in. And it was funny because, like, you know, you'd be in the weights rooms and there'd be other teams in there with you, and you'd be kind of seeing like what different athletes did, and you'd learn a lot through that. And even at dinner time, you'd all sit down almost together. You'd all be done at the same times or whatever. And you're obviously in the sports setting if you're on a sports team, so you're mingling with different like-minded people, and it's just progresses you as an athlete. Honestly, it makes you get a lot better, a lot more focused, and you kind of want to do well in your own sport because other players are doing well in their sport. So that's definitely a driving factor too. So athletics and academics. So in the picture shown here, interestingly enough, we have two American players, an Argentinian player and a German player. So that was also another great thing. It was very cross-cultural for me. You've got athletes from all over the world you're competing with and playing with. And that team we're thankful enough we won conference, which is basically like winning, you know, Connacht, Ulster, Munster, Leinster in Ireland. We won that 2 years in a row. So that was great for us. And yeah, we had a really good team that were pushing each other. As far as the golfing standpoint goes for tournaments, so it's nice over here, like even if you do go north or south or wherever you go, you are limited by the rules of NCAA or NAIA of what you can and can't practice. So even if you do go to a northern school, you're not going to really miss out too much on, because there's rules in place for different things that, you know, you can't play tournaments before other schools have the opportunity to play and all that kind of stuff. But we loaded our schedule with 16 tournaments a year, so 8 each semester. So that's out of the 16 weeks you're in college, 8 of those you're on the road playing a tournament, and that I imagine was the same for soccer. You're on the road for 2 days, which is a great experience. You know, you're with your team. Might be a girls team and a men's team, and you're kind of traveling all together, and you get your allowance because you're on the team, so you get your food and all accommodation and everything taken care of. So you don't have to worry about that. You really just have to worry about performing well in your own sport. For me, we got to play some great golf courses, some, you know, like Whistling Straits. We got to play TPC courses around the country, had really good competition. And you're constantly always ranked against other players. Obviously for soccer and different sports like rugby, you have your coaches poll ranking, and it's with team sports, you're ranked as a team. I played an individual sport, so I was ranked as an individual in the country. So I constantly seen where I needed to progress and how I was always in competition, which was a real appealing factor to me, especially getting the opportunity to play so many sports. So it really just made me grow as a player. But by the end of my time, I was a 2 handicap golfer when I first came over, and then I improved 6 shots over my time in college over here. So the decision about a degree is a lot different to Ireland. In Ireland, obviously, your leaving cert is a lot to do with what you do in college. Unless you're doing medicine over here, you basically can have an open-ended degree the very minute you come over, and you can also change that after your 2 years, which is also it gives the appeal of going to a junior college very easy, because you can just transfer straight away after you've done all your prerequisites and all that after 2 years, and you can decide what degree you want to do. So I think that was definitely easier for me when I was 18, 19 to just, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. So it was I think I picked psychology first, and then I changed it, and I got my degree as a finish. But it was very, I got a flavor of what I wanted to do in college, as opposed to having to know right as you get going at 18 straight out of secondary school in Ireland. So that was definitely something that I found to be one of the best things about coming to college over here, was I didn't have to know what I wanted to do straight off from the get-go. You know, I could decide after taking some classes, and yeah, that was my decision about my degree. Another, just reiterating that about junior college and stuff. So I started playing. I came over and played D2 at Lindenwood. That's their logo in the middle there. Lindenwood is in St. Louis. So that was my first role. And at the time I thought, I have to play D1. I have to play D1. I have to go D1 because I thought that that's the only place you were going to play good or whatever. So I transferred to the Jacksonville State Gamecocks down in Alabama. And for whatever reason, just different things came about that it just didn't work out. I actually went home to Ireland for a semester and then was fortunate enough to come back and go to Cardinal Stritch, which was an NAIA school, private universities. But we had a good solid team, and we had a lot of, we were a good team. A lot of us were well ranked. So I thought the be all and end all was D1, but in actual fact, it wasn't. I had a great time playing NAIA. Facilities were great, golf courses were great, made some great friends, and we worked hard. So we got rewards from that, and we had lots of winners on our teams. And so it's not all about what you think it is. I think you can get your degree and still take your professionalism as much as you want to take it. You don't have to be told that you're no good because you went to a different school or whatever. So, and there's plenty of places to show that, not just in the college setting, but even outside that as you're playing, as you kind of grow into going to college over here, for sure. So that's our facilities. Lindenwood is a football field. Just the facilities we had were across all sports, even playing intramural sports. If anyone here is like interested in playing other sports, I had a great time playing pickup basketball. Love playing basketball. We played soccer against the tennis teams, played some tennis. You've got great facilities over here, and being an athlete, it really opens them all up to you, honestly. That's the Gamecock Stadium. They were a Division 1 school, so obviously it's going to be bigger. There's going to be more facility and more emphasis on nutrition and things like that, and different aspects of things. So that's just the two different types of facilities, I suppose.
Great, thank you, Brian. So just a reminder, if anyone has any questions for Brian about golf in the United States, about being a student athlete in the United States, feel free to drop it into the chat, and we'll get around to as many as we can at the end. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about my background. So as I said, my name's Conor. I grew up in Ballygarrett in Wexford, so it's a small village just outside of Gorey. I went to St. Peter's College for secondary school, so that was a school in Wexford town. So I played, same as Brian, I played hurling and Gaelic football there up until third year. Then after that, I stopped to start taking the soccer a bit more seriously. I played for Wexford Youths, so I joined Wexford Youths when I was 16, so I played underage up until 19, under U19s in the League of Ireland, and then I was also part of the first team squad as well. So after Wexford Youths, I then went to Winthrop University in South Carolina. So before I went to Winthrop, the coach, Dan Ridenhour, he came over to Wexford. So he watched one of my training sessions, and then he watched one of my games at Ferrycarrig Park. And then it was at Ferrycarrig Park in the clubhouse that after the game, I was then offered a scholarship to come over to play in the United States. So why I wanted to come to the United States. So first of all, I'd never even been to the United States at that point. So I really didn't know what I was getting myself into. But the main selling point for me was the fact that you're able to combine sports and education. So the biggest thing was at home, I think it's very difficult if you want to play a high level of sport and also get a high level of education. It's very difficult to combine those two schedule wise. But the good thing about here in the United States is as you come in to start your semester and you're choosing your classes, you'll have an academic advisor and you'll have an athletic advisor. So both of these advisors work together. So if a coach says you're training in the morning from 8 to 10, for example, you can then work with your academic advisor to make sure that your classes are all in the afternoon or in the evening. So it really gives you the opportunity to really give both a really good go, give both a really good, give you 100% to both of them without having to sacrifice either one. And then also I wanted a new opportunity. So I wanted a new challenge, and coming out to the United States, I thought I was doing that. So just a little bit about Winthrop University. So Winthrop is in Rock Hill, which is in South Carolina. So as you can see on the map there, just on the border of North Carolina and South Carolina. So it's 30 minutes south of Charlotte. So Charlotte be one of the major cities in the United States. For the sports in Charlotte, you have Carolina Panthers is the American football team, which I'm sure everyone's heard of. Charlotte Hornets is the basketball team. More recently, we have Charlotte FC, which is the MLS team. And then we also have minor league baseball and minor league hockey as well. So just to go off my daily schedule. So same as Brian, we started off with weights. So our weights, we had our own facility as student athletes. So we'd have a gym that was specific for student athletes, and we'd have our own strength and conditioning coach that would give us sessions as a group, as a team. And we would have done that 3 or 4 times a week. It was really quite professional. So if we started at 7, we had to be in the locker room at about 6:40. And if you were late, just even 1 or 2 minutes late, you'd either get a fine or you'd have some sort of punishment, whether it's fitness or you're staying behind for something extra. Yeah, so it was very professional and very, very strict. So after weights then we'd go out to the fields to have some soccer training. So we'd play for 2 or 3 hours for training. After that, we had the option to do a bit of rehab, ice baths. So you could go back into the athletic training room, roll out, get an ice bath, a hot bath. If you needed dry needling, anything like that, you had athletic trainers to help you. During the season, we had a lot of team meetings. So we'd either be watching a game from the past weekend, or we'd be analysing the opposition that we were going to be facing that week. So after that, we'd go for lunch. So one of the best things I think about being a student athlete is a lot of the times international students will come to America and they have to worry about transitioning to America, making new friends, getting used to all their classes. But the best thing about being part of a team and being a student athlete is, if for soccer, for example, you come in and there's 30 on the roster. So you're automatically coming in and have 30 friends, 30 people that is going to have your back. So for lunch every day, we'd all go for lunch together as a team. So we used to go to the cafeteria, we all just sit at the same table. So it really was a great way to settle in, and it really did make that process a lot easier. Then in the afternoon, we'd have class. So starting at 12:30, another one at 2, another one at 3:30. And then after that, you'd have dinner and you'd be free to do whatever you want after that. So just a little bit about athletics. So we have a picture here. This was on my senior day, so the last day for the college. And then there's another picture of me there. I think that would have been sophomore year when I was playing. So as I said earlier about the schedule, you're coming in, it's full-time soccer. So it's full-time professional environment. You're training 4 or 5 days a week, 2 or 3 games a week, which is brilliant, which I absolutely loved. What I did my first year was I redshirted. So in the United States, when you start college, you've got 4 years of eligibility. So this means that you've got 4 years that you can play your sport. A way that you can get an extra year is if you redshirt. So you might redshirt for different reasons. Redshirt, you might be, if you come with a season-ending injury, you might need to redshirt. If you don't have the grades that's necessary to play, you might need to redshirt. Or if you have a lot of seniors that are almost guaranteed to play, and you talk with your coach and you think that you might not get a lot of playing time, and that's another reason to redshirt. So I redshirted my first year, so I ended up getting an extra year of eligibility to come play for Winthrop University. Internationals. So my favorite thing about playing at Winthrop was the amount of internationals on the team. So during my time, I played with almost 20 nationalities at Winthrop. I found this was great because you're learning different things about different cultures. So you learn a bit about their habits and style of play in soccer, particularly. You pick up a few words in their language. And I found this all very interesting. I had roommates from 6 different countries, so you get to learn about them even more. And I found that this experience was something that I never would have got staying at home in Ireland. And it's something that I thoroughly enjoyed. So we competed in the Big South Conference. So the Big South Conference consists of teams in North Carolina, South Carolina, and Virginia. So after you win the conference. So there's conferences all around the United States. You then go into another tournament where you then play the best in the country. So academics. So you get to choose your degree in the United States. So just to go off what Brian said earlier, in Ireland, you get accepted into a course. So you're going to have your course at a certain university and you're going to have to get a certain amount of points in order to do that course. Over here, the big thing is getting accepted into the university. So I got accepted into Winthrop and they basically said, you can do whatever degree you want to do. So that is also what I found to be a very good opportunity about the United States. There's a few things I was interested in back home that I wouldn't have got the points for. And the fact that I was able to come over here and do well in exams and be able to choose what you want to do, I found that to be a massive advantage of the American system. You also, as Brian said earlier, you're able to take core classes, is what they call it. So no matter what degree you're going to take, you have to take a certain amount of general education classes towards that degree. So it might be your maths, it might be writing. And this allows you to be undeclared your first semester. So I'm sure like many on the call today, you don't really have any idea what you want to do. And I was exactly that way. And I was even that way starting college. So I went into my first semester not knowing what I wanted to do. So I took those core general education classes, which would allow me to go whatever way I wanted to go after that. So along with those general education classes, I took a business class, so economics class, and I took an exercise science class because I was kind of deciding between those two. And I ended up really enjoying the economics class, and then this made me choose business as my degree. So I ended up getting a degree in business administration, and then I ended up liking it so much, I stayed on, and I got a master's of business administration in the end as well. So as for the US holidays in the United States, so the big ones are spring break, summer, and in summer you have 4th of July, then you have Thanksgiving, then you have Christmas. So soccer is a fall sport. So our season was always between August and, depending on how far you got in the tournament, August and about beginning of November. So that means in the spring season, we were mostly doing conditioning. So we were training, we were in the weight room, we'd have friendly matches, but it's considered the off season. So for our spring break, we were given the week off to do whatever we wanted to do. So there's a picture of us in the bottom corner. One of our teammates was from Toronto in Canada. So we went up to Toronto, spent a week there. And if you remember from the map we showed earlier, where I was in South Carolina, it's only 2 states up from Florida. So we went down to Daytona Beach. We did that twice actually, and spent a week there, which was a great experience. So as for spring break, it is a holiday, but because it is such a professional environment, we'd get the week off. So just say we were given, after Saturday, we were allowed to do what we wanted for the rest of the week. We had to report back on, just say, the following Sunday. And we always had a fitness test to make sure that we weren't enjoying ourselves too much during the spring break. So yeah, so you were able to enjoy yourself, but you had to also make sure that you're being as professional as you can as well. In the summer, you have the option to do what you want in the summer as well. So our semester always ended at the beginning of May, and we weren't due back until the end of August. So this allowed us to do whatever you want. So sometimes I went home, sometimes I stayed in America. And the picture of me to the right is when during the summer I played, would have been the 4th tier of American soccer. So it's considered like a semi-professional level. So I stayed there for the summer. Another time I went home. I hadn't been home in a while. So I spent 3 months in Ireland and working, Wexford Youths, Wexford FC now. They're kindly enough to let me train with them for the summer just to keep fit. But yeah, you have 3 months in the summer, which free for you to do whatever you want to do. Thanksgiving's a big one. So for Thanksgiving, no matter what team you're on, there's going to be a lot of Americans on the team. So oftentimes one of the American players will invite you to their family house for Thanksgiving. So one Thanksgiving, I went to Atlanta with my friend, had Thanksgiving with his family. And then we saw an American football game. So Georgia, it was actually a college level game, but there was 90,000 in capacity, which give you an idea that's a full Old Trafford at Manchester United. So it just shows you how seriously and how big college sports is taken over here. Christmas is another holiday, so we get about a month for Christmas. And I always wanted to go home for Christmas. I don't think you can beat you don't think you can beat Christmas in Ireland. So I always went home for the month and then came back at the beginning of January. So as Brian talked earlier, as an international student, you can only really work on campus. So I had plenty of jobs on campus. I started off, so funny enough, that first class I took in business, I ended up being a tutor in that class. It was only a basic intro to economics class. I was a soccer coach. I was an admissions assistant, so just helping high schoolers choose what they wanted to do, where they wanted to go to college. So I was guiding them along the recruitment process if they wanted to go to Winthrop University. I later became an international ambassador. So this was helping international students who came to Winthrop, and I was helping them get settled in and talk them through the process about what it's like to settle in and how to deal with it, how to make the best of their opportunity. And then later, when I was doing my master's, I was a business operations graduate assistant. So I basically, it's kind of like an accountancy job where I managed the finances for the dining halls and for residence halls as well. Just an example of the facilities at Winthrop. So this was the basketball court. I really enjoyed coming to watch the basketball games. Winthrop had a very good team when I was there. If there's any basketball fans here, Winthrop went to March Madness one of the years. So that was great. So it was always a full stadium. Winthrop won the Big South Conference, and that was great to watch. And the funny thing was that you're watching these players with such a big following, and then the next day you'll be sitting beside them in class, which was a very, very strange experience. But yeah, so that's the Winthrop basketball court, and this was the soccer court. The soccer pitch. So the Eagle Field it was called, and that's where we played our home games. So now I'm going to pass this on to Frank beside me. Again, if I have any questions, feel free to pop them into the chat and we'll get around to them at the end. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thanks. I'm Frank McKinney. I'm the men's head coach for Queen's University in Charlotte, North Carolina. I think as we were looking at the map, Charlotte is in the southern part of the United States, so the weather is going to be good. So for people that are looking for a change in weather, that would be coming to Charlotte would be great. I've been the head coach for Queens for 6 years. We started the program 6 years ago. And in those 6 years, we've had some success, which I'll get into as we get later in the presentation. We have a roster of about 45 players in the team. Of those 45 players, about 20% of our roster is internationals. So, we have 4 players from England. We have 4 players from South Africa. We have 4 players from Latin America. We have 1 from Australia. So we have we have a really good international feel on the team. For rugby at Queens, it's a varsity sport. So that means we have scholarships. We're in buses. I have budgets. I have my assistant coaches paid. We have our schedule is going to look just like the schedules that you saw. So we'll have morning lifts. From morning lifts, you'll go and set up an appointment with the trainer if you have some type of physical injury or you're trying to have injury prevention. From there, you'll have classes. We practice 4 to 5:30 Monday through Friday in the fall. So the fall is our big season. And then from there, you're probably going to go and eat. We have classes. So classes are going to vary depending on how you set them up, and you're going to work with, just like we were talking about before, you're going to have somebody in athletics that'll help you set up your classes so it doesn't interfere with practice. Queens has 32 sports, which is a lot of sports, but we've been pretty successful. In 6 years, we've been in the Final Four 4 times, 2 in Division II and 2 in Division I. We're a D1 program. The entire school is D1. We're one of the smaller D1 schools in the country in terms of athletics, but our rugby program has had some success and seen some success in Division I. One of the things too that we have listed as a bullet point is Major League Rugby. So there's actually a professional rugby union league in the United States, and people are able to get contracts and get paid. We've had 3 players get drafted by Major League Rugby over the last 2 years. 2 of them were drafted in the first round, and the third one was drafted in the second round. So if your focus is looking to play college rugby and then play rugby after college, this would be a great environment for you. So we play some of the top teams in the United States. We actually have, if you've seen this picture in the left, is the actual Division I national championship, which we played in December. And we lost. The picture next to it to the right, we're playing Life University. Life is a top team in the country. So we play Navy, Army, and Life coming up this fall. They're number 1, number 4, and number 7 in the United States. So we have a very, very tough schedule. You'll have position coaches. I'm the head coach. You'll have position coaches. You'll have a strength coach. You'll have one trainer that's dedicated to us. We have nutritionists. We also have, we're sitting in one of the rugby offices here, but we have, so after class, we have a bunch of bars and shakes and stuff like that set up. So as you get done with practice, guys come in here and grab shakes, or they'll grab, some type of meal replacements while they're going to class, so they don't forget to eat. And that's, so we try to make it look really professional in terms of what we're doing. All your meals are planned out on the trips, breakfast, lunch, dinner. So all you have to do is just prepare to play. Here's our facilities. So for Queens, we have a multi-purpose field. So if you see the picture to the right, so that turns into a rugby field on Saturdays. We have a locker room that's in that field house that you're looking at. And you'll go in there, you'll be set up in the actual locker rooms. There's chalkboards in there. The games are all live streamed. So we'll make sure anybody that's international is able to watch their family is able to watch them play. We have lights out there. So we've had a couple night games. We actually played one of the top teams in the country out there at night, and the stadium was packed. We get a lot of people that come out to our games. We don't have American football, so rugby is one of the most spectated sports at the school. If you go on YouTube and you put on Queens University Rugby, you'll see 5,000, 6,000, 8,000 views of our games. Some of those games are national championships, but you'll see a lot of people view our games and follow them. So we've been pretty successful. Grades are very important too. So what we're looking for in terms of student athletes, I'm very big on time. So what's happened with our team is we don't really have a problem with people showing up late. They get to practice 15 minutes before practice. So you'll see the student athletes out there doing what's called work-ons. Work-ons are things that they need to improve on. So they're there 15 minutes before. So you don't have anybody running up at 4:01. Everybody's there 15 minutes early. If somebody is coming at 4:01, we don't let them train. So time is a big thing to me. And you'll see on game days, our whole team is usually loaded on the bus and ready to go 15 minutes before the time we're supposed to leave. So I think time is something that you can take and use in life. It's something that's going to help you out in life when you have a job. Another thing that we really look to do too is academics. Academics is very important. So in the US, you're what's called a student athlete. Student is first. So we have the grading scale in the US is from 1 to 4. 4 is a perfect score. So our team has a 3.05 GPA, which is a pretty strong GPA. But that's really important in terms of what we're doing. So we've had, if a student athlete comes to me and says, hey, I've got a project that I have to work on, then we'll excuse them for practice. And that you'll get that every now and then because we practice 5 days a week. And then you have lifting. So you'll lift 2 days a week in the fall, you'll lift 3 days a week in the spring. So 2 days a week in season, you'll lift with your strength coach. And then in the spring, you'll lift 3 days a week. And then the spring, what we do is we run 7-a-side rugby. We also do off-season training. So if you're a forward or you're somebody that's not in the sevens pool, you'll be doing off-season training. If you are in the sevens pool, you'll be training for sevens. You'll do 3 days a week when we don't have a tournament, and 4 days a week when we do have a tournament. So I think some of the things, if you listen to what was said before, I think you'll have new friends, places to go. The American players will take you to their homes for Thanksgiving and for holidays. Spring break is always fun because we're not far from Florida. So the players will be able to go and enjoy Florida wherever they go on spring break. Conor had a good idea that I didn't think about, giving a fitness test as soon as they get back. I like that idea. I picked something up from that. So
Sarah's
maybe-
gonna kill me.
Yeah, maybe that's something I need to make sure we do to make sure that they're ready to go for the season. So, yeah, I think if you play rugby and you like rugby, Queens would be great. If you gotta love rugby and love school, because those are two things that we want to make sure that you're doing well on. The other one is good citizens. So I look for good citizens. I want young men that are opening doors when women are coming up. If people need help with boxes and stuff like that, like I want our team to be seen on campus as good citizens. And because we have one of the larger teams, because we have, they don't have American football, our team is really gaining in terms of just viewership and fans and stuff like that. So we always want to continue to grow that. So yeah, I think that's the big things that I hit on there. In terms of majors, we have several different majors. I would highlight some of the big majors. Business has been top notch here at Queens. Nursing has been top notch. Kinesiology has been top notch. We have a lot of really good majors. Those are the ones we usually get people that call and say, hey, I'm looking at these majors. But sometimes when you're 18 years old, you don't really know what you want to major in, and that's fine. Just come in, we'll take general education classes, and then figure out what you want to do in terms of a major. So.
Okay. Brilliant. Thank you, Frank. Just one question that came to me while you were talking.
Fitness test.
Not fitness test.
I want some more, whatever.
If you asked one of your players at the moment, why they chose Queens, what do you think they would say?
That's a good question. What I would hope they'd say is, I think one of the things we really try to set is the highest level of rugby and the highest level of education together. So if you look at other programs around the country, I feel like I don't think there's many programs that have highest level of education and highest level of rugby that are higher than Queens. And that's obviously I'm biased because I'm here, but I think that we are setting up young people for success. And I think if you look, 98% of the Queens graduates when they graduate, they're having jobs in their field or they're going to graduate school. So if you think about that, that's a high percentage. And I had a young man who was a flanker who, his hair looked crazy and he was always a little, and at graduation, he had 2 job offers, which kind of shocked me. He's a good kid, but I was like, he had 2 job offers. And I was like, so, what are you going to do after school? And he's like, I got 2 job offers. So, hearing stories like that are phenomenal. So.
Brilliant. Okay, thank you, Frank. Again, any questions for Frank? Fire them into the chat and we'll get around to them in just a few minutes. Okay, so now I'm just going to talk to you a little bit about what we do at Tor. So we're a US-based company, and so we're actually sitting in Queen's University at the moment. We've got a team we've got about 40 people on our team, and we cater for all college sports. So what we do for players is we connect them to universities. We provide advisory, and we advise them throughout the process, and we help them with any placement and anything else that they will need. So the big thing about us is we help players find a university, but after that, we provide care during the 4 years as well. So this was something that was really important to us. What we did is we added international ambassadors to our team. So if you remember what I mentioned earlier about international ambassadors, it was their job in college to help a student athlete. Well, it was all athletes, but it was all students, but there's a lot of athletes in particular. Help them settle into college and tell them what challenges they might face and tell them about what they need to do to overcome these challenges. So we have international ambassadors on staff that will assist you through the 4 years. So I think that's one of the big things that we do. So at the moment we have staff all over the country. So visiting campuses, talking to college coaches, learning about the different programs, and that's what we do as a company. So now what we're going to go on to is our questions and answers. So if you just bear with us for just a few seconds, I know we have a few questions there in the chat. So we'll just have a look now and then.
First question is a science subject a requirement for an athlete coming over on a scholarship? And if you don't do one, what would you recommend to do?
So is a science, so the way it works is you're going to have to do your leaving, and a science would mostly be one of the subjects, because it goes from school to school, depending on the eligibility. But what you'll also take is the SATs. So the SATs it's the American equivalent of the leaving cert. And in that, you're going to have your maths, your writing, and your sciences.
Also on that though, so doing your leaving cert, you obviously have pass or honors. In the US, they don't distinguish between pass or honors. So if you're dead set on coming over here and you want to do all pass and you get an A, that's the exact same as getting an A in all honors. So that's something that I found to be pretty helpful to me when I was coming over here. There's no distinction between pass or honors. If it says A or B or C or whatever, it doesn't matter if it's pass or honors over here. So if you were dead set on coming, I would definitely advise just doing pass everything.
Okay, thank you, Brian.
Next question is, would you have to play League of Ireland to get a scholarship?
Absolutely not. So I know a lot of players that did play League of Ireland and that came over here, but I also know people that played maybe for the county team at a younger age, or also for like they're on the senior team in their county. So for example, in Wexford, if you're in like a Division 1, like Wexford League, Division 2 Wexford League, you'd be in with a strong chance of finding a college, because there's quite a variety in terms of the levels, and playing ability is not the most. It's obviously a very important thing, but there's a few other aspects that it ties down to when finding your best fit. So just to answer it shortly, no, you don't have to play League of Ireland. If a college coach sees you, if a college coach sees you and rates you as a player, then that's good enough.
Conor, did you start your degree in your second year of college after taking general education classes?
So I actually started it after. So over here, I'm sure it's the same back home. So you're a freshman, and so there's 2 semesters your freshman year. And my first semester is when I took that business class. So it was halfway through the semester that I declared that I wanted to do business. So I know in Ireland, a lot of the time, the GPA works differently over here. So your GPA in the American system is at the end of every semester, you're going to be taking tests, and the tests that you take your first year kind of equal the same amount, have the same weight as what you'll take your senior year. So I took the business classes, got a good grade in it, and then I decided that's what I wanted to do. But yeah, that's another way that the US system is different to Ireland, is that you're doing testing throughout your college, and they all count in equal amount towards your overall GPA once you graduate.
Next question is for Frank. What level of rugby would be expected for a scholarship?
Good question. So what we try to do is look and rate the players that are coming through, and we look at what level they played. We look at what position. So if you look at rugby 9, 10s, obviously front rows, those are ones we put, I don't want to say a different value on, but those are sometimes positions of need. We also want to look at what level they play at. We also want to look at grades. And then we try to put a value together to say, hey, here's what we can offer in scholarships. So in the US, for rugby, you're not going to see full scholarships. So you'd have to pay something. But depending on the level you've played, you can get, depending on, what level you played, you get certain levels of scholarships. The other thing we do too is, depending on if a player comes over and does really well, then it's an opportunity for them to sit down and say, hey, I've started all these games, I've done all these different things, and we can sit down and revisit their scholarship. So I don't know if that answers your question or not. But.
Yeah, and just to go off that, and we have another question here from John Keogh asking about what is involved in getting a scholarship and what does a scholarship cover. So that'll depend. So that'll be a person-to-person basis. So it'll depend on, first of all, maybe your grades, your playing ability, But as Frank said there, once you get offered a scholarship package, if you're impressing, if you're doing your part in the classroom, there is the option to get an increase in scholarship or get more things covered. So you're talking about fees, accommodation, and living expenses. Yeah, so sometimes you call it a full ride, which is it's quite rare, but that would be covering your accommodation, living expenses, sometimes food. They're very rare, and coaches don't really have the option to give many of them out. Do you mind me asking how many are you allowed to give any full rides out?
We can, we have a budget, and the way our budget works is that we have an average that we need to average. So we don't currently have anybody on a full ride. Full rides in rugby in the US are it's very, very rare. I honestly don't think there are any. So you'd have to pay something. But depending on your level of play, you can get a nice size scholarship.
Yeah, the only guy, so I was on a roster of 30, and the only guy that was on a full ride that would cover accommodation, living, he played for Olympiacos, so before coming Olympiacos in Greece, and he was offered a 4-year contract at Olympiacos and decided that he wanted to come to America and get his education. So he was a top quality player, but again, it depends on the player, it depends on the university and what the coach makes of you and what resources he has available. Okay, thank you, Laura.
Next question is, how many people from Ireland would normally be selected for a soccer scholarship?
It's not as if there's like a limit or anything. There's over 1,000 schools on both. So on the women's side, there's about 1,500 schools. Then on the men's side, it's just a little bit less. So it's not as if there's a limit that they can only take a certain amount from Ireland. If there's 2 good players in Ireland, or if there's 200 good players in Ireland, if college coaches are interested and rate you, then yeah, that option's available. But I met plenty of Irish people. So I came to Winthrop. So my freshman year, we had an Irish guy from Dublin, Kyle Kennedy was his name. So I played with an Irish guy for 1 year, and then oftentimes when we were playing against in the opposition, you'd be playing against a lot of Irish people as well.
Next question is, how would you go about getting a scholarship for rugby? I'm not sure if we covered that already.
How would you go about getting a scholarship for rugby? So what we do to help you get a scholarship to rugby is, first of all, we would sit down with you and do an evaluation where we'll first of all see if you are a good fit to come and play in college over here. So we'll sit down, learn a little bit more about you, about your background, what your goals are. And then after that, we'll guide you through the process. So we've got a college coach on our college rugby coach on our team, and he'll help guide you through the process and put you at the most suitable level. So that'll be the steps in terms of getting recruited for rugby.
Next question is for Brian. What is the criteria for a gold scholarship?
I would say, because there are so many universities and so many different divisions, just going off some things like you can play junior college golf, which is a 2-year university, which I only found out after I had it all done, which would have been a great avenue. You can get your scholarship there, get your academics up, and then almost get an academic scholarship for your last 2 years. So criteria would be, like Conor said, like if a coach does like you, if you're kind of willing to. When I first came over here, I didn't have as much of a scholarship as I finished up with. So depending on your level, for me, I'd won a couple of scratch cups in Ireland, junior and senior. I've been on all teams. I've done well in like some amateur events, like, you know, under 18s and different things. So depending on your golf CV, I suppose, would depend on the kind of level you'll be playing at. Or for me, it was all about, as I said, it was all about getting better and better. So you can always start off small, be a big fish in a small pond, and move on. That's why I would not be deterred from a junior college across any sport, because not only do they give out, you know, not only is there sports scholarships given out, but there's also academic scholarships given out. So if you do well in the classroom at a junior college for 2 years and you're transferring out, you can get 100% scholarship just off your academics. And if you're willing to just go to the classes, you usually get very good grades. If you don't go to the classes, you won't survive, basically. But if you do, and you're putting your head down, you're doing your work, and as Conor said, if you're going and making it known that you're going to see tutors and stuff, at the end of it, when you're evaluated at the end of the season, you know, I went into my coach and talked to him about what can be done. Can I get more scholarship? And that was always, after every year, I always got a little bit more scholarship. So for a finish, I was almost, I think I had a 96% scholarship for a finish, whereas I didn't start off anywhere near that. So really depending on how hard you want to work, honestly. The level, I suppose, having a win at a scratch cup or something that's, you know, for me, it was too expensive to go and stay in different places and play over in England and play in Scotland. So I just kept to what I knew, and I played a scratch cup and all over the country and stuff like that. And the level you can always find a university if you want to get your degree, but if you're very serious about the golf, the level is definitely around scratch for sure. Scratch or below is where you want to be at but obviously your coach will grow you into being that player, and the facilities over here really allow you to put your head down and work towards that. So when I first decided I wanted to come over, I was off an 8 handicap. I got down to 2 within a year, and then I got my offers. So I wouldn't be deterred about what level you're at. I think the great thing about why I believe in tour would be it kind of helps you along, and kind of with people who have already been in the situation, and you know what a coach wants or what he's looking for. I would say that's why I think this is a great kind of avenue. If I had something like this when I was coming over, it was just, oh look, here's the universities, and you know, it was just a mass email. I didn't really know where I was going or anything like that. So yeah, that's what I would say.
Brilliant, thank you, Brian. And just to go off that as well, I was in a similar situation. I had a scholarship coming in my freshman year. I did okay my freshman year, didn't play that well. But then my senior year, I had a good season. And this allowed me, when I was talking about earlier about the eligibility, I was then able to get my MBA with this extra year of eligibility, while also getting an increase in scholarship. So if you do go in, you do work hard, you do get your grades, then that option is definitely available for you. Okay, we've got time for one more question. So it's from Liam. What would track and field coaches be looking for in an athlete from overseas? So Liam, what we can do is on our next slide, we have a free assessment. So as we said earlier, we've got teams we've got a team covering all sports in the United States. I'll be covering soccer. We have Brian covering golf, and then we also have a lot more people in those sports and other sports as well. So if you're interested in seeing if you qualify to play at a collegiate level in the US, so to answer Liam's question, we'll get you in touch with our track and field representative, and then we can go from there. We can talk and we can see if, first of all, if this is something you might be interested in, and then we can talk about the next steps as well. So as you can see, we have a barcode here, and that barcode, if everyone wants to scan it, this will lead you to the free assessment questionnaire. So this will allow us to, first of all, get a little bit of information about you. We'll follow up with you, we'll schedule a call. So you're going to ask for your first name, your last name, and your sport. And then there's going to be a little section just to talk a little bit about you. So just if you could provide as much information as possible during that little about section. So for example, in soccer, maybe what team you play for, what your goals are, if you're a striker, maybe how many goals you score in a year, just stats, level of competition, and then we'll meet with you just to dig deeper and learn a little bit more about you all. Okay, great. Thank you very much for joining our webinar. I really appreciate you taking the time to join us. So thank you very much and have a good night.